is our own Daichi Eddie Salazar, who works in the Center for Jesuit Education and leads Zen meditation. Probably many of you on this Zoom call have taken Zen meditation from Eddie in one form or another. We're very blessed to have him on our campus to bring happy days to everyone, even when we're not in person. So Eddie, thank you so much for leading us this Monday afternoon.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you all. I've been looking forward to this. This is such a pleasure to spend this kind of time with so many of my colleagues that I see on these little boxes on my screen. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging that today, November 30th, culminates Native American Heritage Month. I don't know how many people knew that. And in 2009, the Obama administration designated the day after Thanksgiving as Native American Heritage Day. So if you didn't know that this past Friday, next year, try to remember that as you're doing your Black Friday shopping. So in that spirit, as the university likes to have us do, I'd like to recognize that my home and the campus is on Duwamish lands. And for those of you that aren't in Seattle, some of you were spread far and wide, I encourage you and invite you to kind of explore what Native American tribe or nation is holding you up on your feet. And try to find out a little bit about that particular tribe or nation. As an example, here with the Duwamish, ever since 1855, they have been struggling to get federal recognition for their nation, and it continues to be a struggle. And I encourage you to learn about that. My Zen Temple strongly supports them in their struggle. Also, in connection to this, many Christian traditions hold what is called the Communion of Saints. And in my own tradition, Rinzai Zen, which is my practice tradition, we also honor our own ancestors, and every day in liturgy, we recite their names. So I'd like us to just take a moment to recognize all of the Communion of Saints, all of my Zen ancestors that I know their names well, and also the ancestors and elders and sages and shamans of all of the indigenous peoples of this land. So if we can just take just a few seconds to invoke their presence among us. So today, I'd like to introduce the idea of active imagination. Now, I love that Ignatian spirituality, that's foundational in what is called the spiritual exercises. And I know many of you in these little squares have done the exercises, so you understand how active imagination works. You often work with a director, and you often enter scriptural stories either about Jesus or the parables or other aspects of scripture. And in Zen Buddhism, it works exactly the same way. We have what are called koans, and we have an entire canon of koan stories and teachings, and they're brand new to me, so and I love them. But when I teach about koans, I often do use biblical uh, stories or parables. They work the same. And in both of our traditions, the idea of that um, is to plumb our depths. The story is just a mechanism for us to go deep, to understand ourselves and to understand our worlds that we walk in. Um, and so I'm going to read a few lines out of a book called Zen and the Spiritual Exercises by Ruben Habito. Now, Ruben Habito is a former Jesuit, and now he's a Zen master in his own right. So here's a few lines. He's talking about the spiritual exercises. Ignatius gives us detailed guidelines in approaching scripture for contemplative exercises with what he calls application of the senses. By this, the active imagination is brought in to see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and imagine particular items surrounding a given scriptural scene. Reading the scriptural text in a way that engages all the senses, including imagination, is our mode of approach. Scriptural passages we consider are invitations for us to taste and see Jesus in action in the context of his discourses and encounters with disciples and others who were part of his world. To contemplate is to behold, to set our gaze upon, and to allow ourselves to bask in the light of what we are contemplating. As one becomes familiar and more deeply intimate with the world revealed in the text, one may experience a fusion of horizons. This is a personal existential affair in which one imagines the story of Jesus within one's own story. So those, I like to say that Ignatian spirituality and Zen are pretty well overlapped. They're merged. But but I'm going to introduce another way to engage our imagination. And I don't know, some of you that have done my my Zen training will know what I'm going to say. Try to remember a time when you experienced flow or being in the zone. You might be a swimmer or uh, a violin player, or you might be a painter. So think of a time that that you felt fully engaged, and just try for the moment. I'm going to give us like 1 or 2 minutes, and I'd like us to just fully enter that experience. In Zen, we call that samadhi, and it's exactly the same thing. So I also invite you to enter it into the chat, whether you're a jogger or a swimmer or a painter. So I'd like us to take just a moment or two to recapture that experience. All right, if I can invite you back. Were you able to go there? Were you able to capture uh, the full essence of what that was? Um, and please, again, I invite you to put that into the chat. If you're a painter, at some point you were you became the brush. And then after that, you were no longer the brush, you were the canvas. And then maybe 10 hours later, you stepped back and there was your painting. And you don't even know where you went, you just became the painting. My example of this is I'm a subscriber to the Seattle Symphony. So when I go to Benaroya, I think it seats around 2,500. When I'm sitting there, I'm not attentive to the 2,500. It's just me and the music. And then after a while, I'm not even there. There's only Verdi Requiem that's left. It's only the music. So where do I go? Where do you go when you're hiking or painting or swimming? So I'd like to invite you to Zen invites us, and so does the spiritual exercises, to experience this aspect in every moment of our lives. Whether we're washing dishes or changing the diaper of our child or creating a spreadsheet for our supervisor, all of it is an opportunity to enter every day, every moment as fully as you can. And it's not a matter of trying, it's a matter of letting go. Just let go. Just let go. And if you're a swimmer, be one with the water. If you're in the symphony, be one with Verdi Requiem. If you're changing a diaper, become the diaper. So I'd like to leave you with that as a challenge. To enter flow, to enter the zone, to enter what we call samadhi, and just revel in that space. I'll end with a very short poem by Juan Ramon Jimenez, and the poem is called Oceans. I have a feeling that my boat has struck down there in the depths against a great thing. And nothing happens. Nothing. Silence. Waves. Nothing happens? Or has everything happened? And are we standing now quietly in the new life? Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie, for that profound invitation to be fully present in each moment. Thank you for your words, the way you weave together Zen and Ignatian spirituality. And may we carry forth and take seriously your invitation to us to become one with ourselves, with others, with the natural world. You're welcome to stay in this space, colleagues. I will put back on the music. Perhaps you will become one with the music. Someone asked me, Steve Brilling asked me where the music is from. It's Anne-Marie David is a sacred pianist that I knew in Boston. And this is one of her albums. So that's what I'll play as we exit today. Blessings to all.